Hello to all, this is Miss Barra here. Today we are going to be talking about how to create a one-pager. I like one-pagers because they are a very creative and reflective way of analyzing a piece of literature or information or even a movie. What I like about them is how they have a very simple structure that is also very complete. So a one-pager serves as a form of assessment that uses creativity and critical thinking skills to expose a certain topic. Here I have a one-pager that I created after having watched the movie To the Bone. In the one-pager, we are going to include the title of the movie, but remember that you can use the title of a piece of information or a story. So the first thing that we're going to talk about in a one-pager is the title. In this case, the movie that I watched was To the Bone. So here's the title. I was very creative in selecting this font for the title because I felt that it represented what To the Bone meant, and it's a very thin letter, and it's almost a little bit creepy. So I felt that it was illustrative of that title. So remember to include the title in any part of your one-pager. Secondly, you're going to include a quote. A quote you're going to cite from the story, or in this case, I cited from the movie. This quote was used in the movie, and when I heard it, it really caught my attention and I liked it. So I included it in this one-pager. The quote says, "Courage. It is in the small things we see it. The child's first step, as awesome as an earthquake." So here in the cloud, I explained why I selected this quote. And my explanation says, I chose this quote as important because it reminded me that everything we do requires courage. And how as children, we have lots of it. We have no fear. We learn to walk by falling. And we still get back up and keep doing it because we have to. We have to keep moving, walking, and growing. So this is my explanation of why I selected this quote. Next, I wrote a short summary talking about what this movie was mostly about. It's very short, but I think it's a good summary of the main points of this movie. The main idea reads, this movie was about a girl who struggles with an eating disorder. She is talented and surrounded by people who want to help her and be there for her, but she doesn't know if she wants to be helped. So this was my short summary of the main idea of this movie. Next, I included a picture that illustrates more or less the topic of this movie. Remember that the main character in the movie struggles with an eating disorder. Here we have a girl who is sitting on top of a weight scale. She seems to be worried, struggling. We also have these hands who are bigger than her. Hands, to me, symbolize protection from somebody else. So I thought this was a good picture to represent what the main idea of this movie was. I also included 2 questions that I had after having watched the movie. My first question was, why doesn't her father ever help her? In the movie, I felt that the presence of the father was not there, and I often wondered why he wasn't, and why didn't he reach out to help the main character with her struggle and her eating disorder. The second question that I included was, what advice would you give people suffering from eating disorders? This was also something that I was reflecting about after having watched the movie To the Bone. Next, I included 2 keywords remember, the keywords are words that are important in the movie. In this case, I selected Rexy and unicorn. I also included a definition based on what I saw in the movie of what these words meant. For example, Rexy is a person who suffers from anorexia. It's basically anorexia but shorter, and they call it Rexy. I also included the word unicorn, that is an imaginary being. It's like a horse but magical with its colors and its horn. They use this word in the movie to describe some people as unicorn because they're almost like magical beings. Aside from that, I included 2 interesting facts after having watched the movie. In this case, art helps people deal with their emotions. In the movie, I had to see the characters deal with their struggles, and one of the ways that they dealt with their problems was through art. The other fact that I learned was eating disorders are an illness and can become addictive. So this is a sickness that many people have, and it has to be treated because it is an addiction. I also included 2 pictures that illustrate the meaning of these vocabulary words. For example, for Rexy, here I have the word and I have the illustration. A Rexy is a person who suffers from anorexia, and people who have anorexia, they have a distorted image of their body. For example, here you see that the girl is all skin and bones. She's very thin, she's very skinny. But when she looks into the mirror, she does not see her literal image. She sees a distorted image of her body. She sees herself as obese, as overweight, as very fat. So this is an illustration that represents what a Rexy is. Then we have here the image of a unicorn, which is almost like a horse. It's a magical being with its colors and its horn. And the last thing that we include in the one-pager is the personal connection that you have to the movie or the story or the piece of information that you're talking about. For example, here I wrote that I have also obsessed over my weight, and I've also done crazy diets and lots of exercise to lose weight. And at the end of the day, I've sometimes not felt even happy with my body. So I think that that was my personal connection to this movie. How we all struggle with the image of our bodies, trying to comply with the standards of society, of what is considered to be beautiful. So this was my personal connection to the movie. So as you can see, this is a simple one-pager that reflects about the movie in a very creative way. It includes the title, it includes the quote, the explanation of why I selected the quote. It includes the main idea of the movie, a picture that represents the main idea, 2 questions that I had after having watched the movie. It also includes 2 keywords that are important in the movie, 2 interesting facts that I learned after having watched the movie, the images that represent the keywords that illustrate their meaning, and last but not least, the personal connection, how I connected with the movie or the piece of literature or the information. So this is very simple, very creative way to reflect about any piece of literature or movie or information. I think it's very simple to do and also very creative.